I was just gonna say it's so crazy with life. You guys are so gracious because everything that both of you are going through with your dad, I can't even imagine. It really is just, I mean, I don't think I would handle that situation well. I mean, it just really does show. I think God gives us what we can handle for sure.
Yeah.
But you guys are so strong. I mean, that's a hard thing you're going through.
I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill and I'm your host. And today I'm bringing a very extra special episode to you. E.C. Stilson. You might know her if you've been perusing Amazon. Maybe you've been following me because I share a lot of her posts. They're so inspirational. A few weeks ago, I had the amazing opportunity to speak with this woman, and I can't even begin to tell you how much she touched my life. Since that time, she's in the fight for her life yet again. To look at her, you may not know that she has cancer, but she shares authentically in a real and wonderful way about the tragedies she's gone through and the fight for her life that she's currently going through. So I want you to sit back and relax, but I still want you to keep your ears and your heart open as you listen to E.C. Stilson. I want to welcome you to another episode of Media from the Heart. My name is Ruth Hill and I'm your host. And today I have someone who honestly I have wanted on my podcast for months. I'll be honest. I've been a huge fan of her work, and her story has just absolutely inspired me. So E.C. Stilson is how she's known. Elisa, it is so nice to meet you.
It's nice to be here.
I'm so glad. I mean, you have no idea when I first found you. I will just tell just as a backstory before I get into actually introducing you. I actually first followed you on TikTok, and all of a sudden, and because you were like doing all these readings on TikTok and stuff, and I was like, who is this person? And then I started getting into what your story was, and before long, it was just like, this woman, wow. And I just was like following your story, and you just write the most beautiful posts. And just so it's been such a joy to follow you so much. Your story has meant so much, has been an inspiration to me.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
I'm glad. I'm very glad. So by way of introduction, I'm just going to read just a little bit. We'll get into actually we can talk about some of this, but E.C. Stilson has authored over 10 novels, novellas, and children's pictures books. 2 of her memoirs, The Golden Sky and Homeless in Hawaii, have become #1 bestsellers on Amazon for women's memoir. Since 2011, through fundraisers, book donations, and national radio interviews, E.C. Stilson has helped raise thousands of dollars for organizations such as Angel Watch. There's a medical center, the Pregnancy Resource Center, the American Diabetes Association, and Primary Children's Hospital. When she's not working as a copy editor, she's parenting, fiddling. Yes, I know you play the violin. I love those videos too. Writing and speaking at events for infant loss support groups or cancer awareness organizations. Her most recent memoir, 2 More Years, came out in 2022 and details the author's battle with stage 4 melanoma. And I know there's a lot more that could be said, but that's the thing. And actually, before I heard about your cancer story, it was actually your infant loss story. That was actually the first thing that I first started noticing things, and I just couldn't believe. I mean, now I read something like that, and it's all like super like newsy and positive kind. So it sounds so good, but the thing is, I cannot get over what you have gone through in your life. You're a little bit younger than I am. I'm getting close to 50, so you're a little bit younger.
I was gonna say, I thought we were pretty close in age.
We're close. Yeah, we're close. But I know I tend to look a little bit younger than what I am, but I'm actually going to turn 49 this year. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. I heard the 40s are the best, so I'm just so excited. I actually made it. You know, doctors never said I would make it this long, so I'm so excited.
That's what just those kinds of stories, I mean, your positive spirit, your determination, just the way you go about living your life is such an inspiration. You're so real, you're so authentic. But I want to go back, and I want to take my viewers and listeners back to where before all that. What was it that inspired you as a child to, I'm assuming as a child, to want to write?
Oh, so this is such a silly story, but I must have been in sixth grade when I wrote my first book. And it was just this little 90-page book, but I had a hamster, and the hamster went underneath the kind of in the bathroom, it went into the ventilation system. And we lost the hamster. And I was devastated because this was my baby. And anyways, it was really wild, but we could hear it going through the house because it was literally just, like I said, in the ventilation system. And my brother actually got it out of one of the walls. and and it was fine. And so I wrote this book about my little hamster's journey and how God brought the hamster back to me. And that's just kind of been an ongoing theme in my life. It's like you have this really terrible, hard thing, there's hope, God is there, and somehow, God even breaks down walls, so everything's okay. And I mean, I'm not religious or anything, but I definitely think that God has helped me through everything. But that's how I started writing.
Well, well, I don't think that's a terribly silly story. I think that's kind of a fun story. I mean, it's we all have our stories about how we started writing, but I kind of had this feeling you started as a child. I just had that sense, because most authors that I know, even if they don't go on to do it professionally, when once they become an adult later on in life, well, I really wanted to become a writer back when I was a kid, and I didn't really follow through on it until later. So from that auspicious beginning, then, Elisa, what was, did you, from there, you just kept writing as you then went on to become an adult, did you pursue that passion and that desire for writing right away?
Well, so in high school, I met with my creative writing teacher, and I had a whole packet of things. I really wanted to get her feedback. And she told me I wasn't very good. And she said I needed to stop writing and pursue something else. She knew I loved the violin, and she was saying, do something you're actually good at. And so it wasn't until my little boy was in the hospital and then ended up passing away, I journaled the entire experience and just kind of hid everything away. And his entire life, all of my memories of him are in this big Tupperware, and that includes everything. I would write on anything I could find. Sometimes it was the back of his medical reports or the bills. Sometimes it was on napkins, and I ended up putting the entire journal. It ended up being over 97,000 words, but I put it in the computer, and one of my friends read it and just said, you should really look at getting this published, because it helped her. And when I was putting it in, it kind of helped me too, just come to peace with, you kind of look back and see the miracles along the way when things are meant to be, even the hard times that you were always meant to go through it and you had the strength. It just didn't really feel like it at the time.
Oh, wow. So that's been, again, going back to even the hamster story, and which at that point would have been a traumatic experience, because yes, as a child, those kinds of things, no, and I totally get it, because those kinds of things can be, but then you have another traumatic experience, very traumatic. I can't even imagine. I have one daughter, and she's in college, and I can't even imagine what infant loss would be like. I don't even, that doesn't, I cannot even, I don't even know if I can, I certainly can't empathize, because I've never been there. I can try to sympathize, but I don't think I can get anywhere close to what kind of grief, that the pain that I don't, and
for you to turn to writing, and for your writing to be helping not just you, but other people who are going through grief. But that's what brought you back into writing, and to even doing it more professionally.
Yeah, yeah. I think just a coping mechanism to help get through everything, and then help the memories stay alive too.
Exactly. So what was your process so you have this amazing accounting of your little boy, and then losing him, and all that is put into this book, and you went to get it published. So how did you go about doing that? Did you have any idea what steps to take to get that book published?
Oh man, it was a lot. I ended up really silly, but I lived in Utah at the time, and of course we had phone books at that time. And I opened up a phone book and I literally called every single person who was listed as a publisher. And I ended up even talking to the author who wrote the Christmas box. And I didn't know what a big deal that was at the time, but since he had self-published, his name was in there as a publisher. So I talked to all these different people, and they most of them were pretty encouraging, you know. But by the end of it, somebody said to look at Dan Pointer's Guide to Self-Publishing. And I did get one offer to traditionally publish it, but the publisher, they wanted me to change it to say, dang it, my son died, instead of damn it, my son died. And at that point, I just decided that this story was too close to my heart. And even if it didn't go anywhere, I just wanted it for me so I could remember my little boy. And then I ended up really following Dan Pointer's Guide, which is an awesome, amazing book if you want more information about traditional or self-publishing. But then, yeah, then I self-published it. And yeah.
Wow. Okay. I love the fact that I want to go back to you. The publisher wanted you to change the name, and you were like, I'm not going to change the name. Because of course, and I understand, depending on what that publisher, their readers, they might say, oh well, you can't say damn. Damn would be like, that would be the offensive thing. But that's what you were really feeling, and you were so committed. And I really like that. It's like, now as I'm getting to talk to you, Lisa, it's like, okay, now I know why I just love this woman so much, because I totally get this thing that you are so committed. You were going to stick with that. Nobody was going to have you change that, even if it meant getting that publishing deal. You're like, I'm going to publish it. This is what it needs to be. I need to. And so I totally respect that. Good for you. Good for you that you did
Oh,
that.
thank you. Yeah, yeah, they were a really religious publisher, and it's hard because sometimes I look back and think they could have edited it and made it so wonderful, because it's really, really raw. The Golden Sky is so raw. Because I was only 19 when my little boy was born, and then he died just right before my 20th birthday. But yeah, so I know that they could have made it just flawless, but I read some of it now and it just sounds like a child wrote it. There's even a line in there about how somebody was old. She wasn't ancient, but she was at least 30. Then I read that now and think, wow, that's so young.
Oh my goodness. No, but I think that the fact that it's raw. Now, I have not actually read this. I do have that on my reading list to read for sure, but because I would like to take a look at it. I mean, I know I've heard you read parts of it, which is just like, it's like, wow, I don't have that. It's like, wow. But um I think sometimes, though, yeah, you can always look back. We can always, what do they say? We always have 20/20 hindsight, and we figure, oh, maybe if we could have done this, we could have done this differently. But the fact that that was your first official book, and it's raw, and who knows that if another publisher, you could look at it this way, if another publisher, if they had cleaned it up and made it sound so amazing and everything, maybe it wouldn't have helped as many people. You have no way of knowing.
Yeah, that's true.
So, um, so Elisa, the part that just absolutely blows me away right now though, is your whole cancer journey. I first of all, I'll be honest, every time I see you online, it's like, this woman has cancer. How could she have cancer? She doesn't even, because we still, I think, in popular culture, we have a view that people who have cancer look a certain way.
Yeah.
We do. We have this idea that they're going to look weird. They're going to, have, they're going to look like, but we have that view. If I think cancer, we just have all these images come to mind. And of course, thankfully, that's changing somewhat because there's been a lot more openness about cancer. And it's like, I look at my mom. My mom is also a survivor of cancer, and there's lots of people that I know in my life who have been survivors of cancer. And but when I look at you, it's like, I'll I won't even think, and then I'll read your posts, and you're not even focused on cancer. You're focused on you're focused on living your life. And you always have been. Yeah, the cancer will maybe keep you from feeling well enough to do this today or that, or whatever the case is. But you are focused on living your life and focused on not giving up. And the doctors say you aren't even supposed to be alive at this point. Isn't that my understanding?
Yeah, they said that I wouldn't make it to see 2023 at all. So that's pretty amazing that I'm still here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you take take us back to when when you first went to the doctor and they gave you this diagnosis. Were you blindsided? Did you know that, did you suspect something was wrong, or was it just like all of a sudden you're told you have cancer?
Also, in 2018, I had a mole that it was the most beautiful shade of purple. And my mom would not let me go through a meal without her saying something like, go get the mole checked, whatever. And so finally it was like, can we just have a meal here? And I went and got checked, and it was stage 2 at that time. And I don't know if you could see this, but they had to remove it, and it went down into my bone and my muscle. And so at that time, they said they got everything. But then 2 years later, I started having some pretty bad problems. I could only sleep about 1 hour a night. The pain was so bad. And I am tough. I mean, not to brag, but it's a fact. I'm tough. I've had 5 babies and 4 of them without epidurals. So I remember telling the doctor, it's like, I know what pain is. This is pain. But I started to lose some of the muscle in my right leg because my back was just so messed up. And finally it took them about 4 months because they just said I looked so healthy and I seemed so happy. They couldn't figure out what the deal was. And I ended up going to the emergency room at the University of Utah. And that was when they found that I had tumors in every single one of my vertebrae. And then I had 2 in my brain. I still have 1 in my hip. So yeah, it had traveled through my bones. And melanoma, normally they look in the lymph nodes and things like that, but where mine, I just went through the bones. I think it was a little bit harder to catch. So, but yeah, I did know something was wrong. They just couldn't figure out exactly what it was.
Oh my goodness. So you get this, so you get the diagnosis, and they give you, they gave you 2 years to live, isn't that right?
Yeah, yep. When I was in the hospital there, they said that I had 2 years to live, and then they ended up taking out an entire vertebrae where my biggest tumor was. So yeah,
So,
that was kind of wild. The doctor just came right in and said, I I think you'll probably live for about 2 years and that's it. And just I just remember looking out the window of this beautiful hospital, looking down at the Salt Lake City Valley and just thinking, wow, 2 years. What when you look back at the last 2 years and think what you've done, and then think that you only have two ahead of you, it's really sobering, because I think a lot of people, if they were told they only had a couple years, or that they had just lived their final two, would they be proud of the things they had done? And when I looked back at my previous 2 years at that point, I really wasn't proud. I'd become a workaholic, and I saw a lot of things I wanted to change about myself.
Oh my, that's and I think from what I mean, first of all, I'm just amazed at your mindset and your the way that you have just fought this and you've kept going, and I I don't know if I would have. It's hard for me to even imagine being in that position. I mean, I don't. I think that's the thing. It's sometimes people can say, "Oh, I can sympathize with you. I'm so sorry." Thoughts and prayers, and we pray it'll all go away, and we're here, and you need to try this remedy or try that, or all the different things. You hear all this, but I don't think any of us, if we haven't been there and experienced it, I don't even think we can really put ourselves in that place. That's just my opinion. I can be as sympathetic as, and just like, I can't believe it, but I cannot. I don't think that. I think that sometimes people can mean well by saying that they're there for you, or you tried this or whatever, because I think we have this thing of, we have to say something. Someone just says, I only have 2 years left to live, and we feel like, oh no, I have to say something, and it needs to be the right thing. But it's like, I don't know if that's always as helpful. I don't know, is that something you experienced, where, because I'm sure that you had an outpouring of love. I know that you continue to have people
Uh,
always commenting, and but what did you find as you're going through this, and you tell people who know you, maybe people who know you as an author, people who know you as a friend, family, um what was it, what was their response? What was the response to when they first heard that you only have 2 years left to live? What was the response of those around you?
oh man, people have been so kind to me and done so much for me. I mean, just astounding. But I think it's been hard. One of the things that was really tough for me to hear. So when I first got diagnosed back in 2018, my youngest daughter was 8. And then, 2 years later, just the kids they're still pretty young. So now my oldest is 21 and my youngest is 13. But my son, he said that that was the worst year of his life, was the first year that I got my diagnosis, and then how much I had to be at the hospital, because it was the height of COVID. And so I would go in there and they wouldn't get to see me the entire time. And there was I was in there for a whole month at one point. They couldn't even come visit me. And then we've had different things happen. We took a trip to Montana, and not knowing, just because I kind of expect, even though I feel sick, I expect things to be normal. And so we went to Montana, but then I actually got sepsis, got hospitalized, and they said if we would have waited a half an hour longer, that I could have died. And so just kind of seeing that effect on my family has been pretty hard. But the kids are just so strong, and just seeing this kind of catapult everybody through the difficult teen years, to then seeing how they become such selfless, kind human beings, and just stepping in to help cook or do the dishes or all these different things. I'm just so proud of them. So
Yeah, well, that's really that's good to hear. I mean that you're, I know it had to be I can imagine it'd be very difficult in the beginning. Not that part. It's good to hear. It's good to hear the way that your kids have become so strong during this, because I still can't even, begin to, maybe I can understand it about that much just because I haven't lived it. But I love the fact that you were sharing, and it gives me this even more appreciation, and just like, wow, just like being, so many times I read your posts, and I will, and just your view of a certain situation that I might think, oh, well, they did that to you, or they said that to you, or that happened. Well, that's not right. And then you look at it from such a different perspective, because you're living, some people would say that you're living on borrowed time. I wouldn't necessarily put it that way, but some people would say, well, you were already supposed to be gone, and here you are living, and this is just like a bonus, like you're having your bonus round or something. And you have a beautiful way of looking back at even things that happened. I mean, my goodness, your Facebook page being hacked. I read the post that you wrote about that, and I was like, I would not have been thinking that. I would not have been giving, actually giving the person who hacked your account the benefit, like praying for them and hoping, just like, what? Well, like, and that's what I find, your perspective continues to inspire me so much. That's why I'm always writing back to you and sharing your post, because it's like, well, but what you just shared, I think of myself as being, this relatively good Christian person. And then I read your post, like, maybe I got a little ways to go still. Like, I've never thought about it.
Oh, I think you're amazing. I think I have so far to go. It's like, half the time, I just think it's so hard. And some of the thoughts I have too, just getting so frustrated. It's, I don't know. There was a lady not that long ago who was complaining in the grocery store. She just had this terrible day. And this was actually, so it was a little while ago, because I was wearing a wig because my hair, I'd lost my hair, and I lost like chunks from the radiation. So we just ended up shaving it because I had this massive bald spot right here of all the places. I'm like, why is it in the front?
Yeah.
But this lady was just complaining about, to me, just really trivial things. It was really, I don't know. She didn't like the way her nails looked and all this stuff. And I swear to God, Ruth, I was about ready to take my wig off and hang it on the shopping cart and say, okay, let's have a visit about how our lives are and what you're complaining about, and the fact that I am dying and there's a bald spot.
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
Which,
wow.
I don't know why that was such a big deal. That shouldn't matter, but it did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, that I think that's what I really appreciate about you as well, is you don't just say when you did something, you don't just point out the things that you did well, but you will actually come and say, I could have handled this better. I could have probably done this better. I've learned, I'm going to remember the next time I go through something like this, to react this way, or to do this rather than, doing this or saying this or thinking this. And it's just, I appreciate that perspective, because it would be so easy for some people to just say, well, I was given a diagnosis. I only have 2 years left. So I'm just going to sit and curl up in a ball and wait for the end to come. There are people who would do that. And you're not. And so what has been the thing that has kept you going through all this? Because it's like you're not giving up. You have that indomitable spirit. I'm sure you have the days that you want to give up. I'm not saying that, but overall, you have this spirit. I know, overall, you have this spirit that you're not going to give up. You are determined to keep living as long as you can, as fully as you can, you are determined. So what is it that keeps you going?
Oh, I mean, my husband and my kids, I just want to make sure that I can be there for them, be here for them as long as I can, because I really feel like they need me. And I've started writing posts on my blog into the future so that even after I'm gone, they will start publishing. I think it's something like 9 years from now, so that they know, this is the date, these are going to start publishing. And they're basically just letters to them, just letting them know that I love them and what I was thinking, now, so they can have those. But then also just, I don't know. I love life. I really do. Life can be so hard, but it's also such an adventure. You never know what's just around the corner. And I just posted something on TikTok actually about the word joy. I've been researching a lot of etymology, and one of the root words in Hebrew of joy actually means to persevere. So it's a mindset. It's just really, really loving things, loving life. It doesn't come and go. It's like seeing the best in everything. Even if you're in the middle of the storm, just enjoying the rain, just finding the very best thing. I mean, you think about when I got that diagnosis that I had 2 more years to live. This is going to sound so goofy, but I cried and cried. And then I decided, you get free smoothies. So I got a smoothie and I sat there and I sucked on that thing and I looked out the window and I pretended that I was in Puerto Vallarta. I thought, well, damn it, this is really shitty.
Yeah.
But if I have to be here, I might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true. No, well, and see, it's this, just that whole answer and the way you said it, that is something that I appreciate about you, Elisa. Whenever your posts happen to come across my feed, which happens quite regularly, which is great. It's just awesome. I don't even go looking for them. Facebook has decided that I'm supposed to see your posts because I almost always do. And I'm excited about that. It's like, okay, thank you, Facebook, because I need her posts. And it's just, I mean, there have been so many times when I will just, and it's so refreshing, so authentic, so real. And just always you read through it and I will admit, sometimes somebody will post a really long Facebook post and I'll be kind of like, I don't know if I really want to read this whole thing. But with you, I always want to read to the end because I always know that if I read till the end, there's going to be some nugget of wisdom, truth, positivity, something that is going to make me smile.
I just, I didn't hear everything, and I'm going to listen to the whole podcast when Ruth gets this up. But I just want to say that how often I feel gripey and complaining about my situation, which is absolutely nothing in any way for what you have walked through. I mean, I know God often reminds me of this when I feel sorry for myself because I'm 24/7 at home. And it's just my constant interruptions all day long of all kinds of descriptions. And watching my husband losing him daily, I can just see the downhill slide. And God reminds me of, but I still have him. I still have him. And that there's so many people in this world, thousands of people that are walking the road that you've walked. My cancer, praise God, was all contained. They were able to get it all. I never had to do any treatments of any kind, and I'm cancer-free, it's cancer-free. And it was colon cancer, which runs in my family. Wow. And I was never supposed to ever get it, of course. And I did colonostomies all the time, but lo and behold, there it was. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. And I do want to read your book about your baby. I lost a baby, I miscarried at about 3 months. And so I know the pain just in a little bit. and it took me a long time to recover. So, writing, our emotions are so raw when we go through things like that. And I'm sure when my husband passes, that the emotions will be raw. But those are the most inspiring words when I look for books or readings or posts or whatever to help me. It's people being honest and vulnerable, people being willing to share. And that's what I see in you. And I'm just really anxious to read your book and to read your writings. And I just want to thank you for being such a woman that has walked such a difficult road. And yet you have a beautiful countenance and a beautiful story, and you share so elegantly. And I just want to thank you for sharing and you have certainly inspired my day, and you encouraged me today. I had a rough night last night, a very rough night, and I woke up feeling very defeated. And you have so encouraged me to continue on that and to enjoy every single moment I have left with him. And I just thank you for that very, very much. But thank you so very, very much, Elisa. I just praise God for your testimony. It really has inspired me greatly and encouraged me after a very, very challenging night. So thank you so very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, I have very often read your post to my mom. She didn't really realize, but I think I began to talk about you because I kept reading these posts and I was just like, Mom, you got to hear what this woman said. You've got to hear it. It's like, do you have a moment? Can I read this to you? And so she's been hearing, and I think that she'll make the connection now, say, remember when I told you this? And so that was, and that means a lot to me to have my mom come on and say that to you, because that's the thing. I wanted my mom to be able to come on this podcast. So I'm glad it worked out. And
I was just going to say, it's so crazy with life. You guys are so gracious because everything that both of you are going through with your dad, I can't even imagine. It really is just, I mean, I don't think I would handle that situation well. I mean, it just really does show. I think God gives us what we can handle for sure.
Yeah.
But you guys are so strong. I mean, that's a hard thing you're going through.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like God gives us what we need at the time, because that's the thing. It's like I'm thinking, well, what we're going through is nothing compared to what you're going through. But then it's that thing of where God gives us the grace that we need for what we're going through at the time, and that's definitely, but I think what's beautiful, and I think that what we're seeing, what you and I are seeing in each other even, is that we're not sitting there playing the poor me, I'm a victim. I'm not saying we don't have our days. I mean, I know we all have our moments, but overall we come back to, we're going to make it through. We're just going to take it one day at a time. And we're going to not just sit around and have a pity party, because the thing is I think something that I've discovered through walking this season that I'm walking with my mom is it really has to do with your response. You're not going to change the situation is as it is. I mean, for example, in your situation, you could have said, okay, I've got the 2-year, they're only gonna be 2 more years to live. I've got the cancer diagnosis, and that right now is not going to change. That's a fact. That's just what it is. And you have a choice of your response. It goes back to your response. You could respond being angry, frustrated, and taking it out on everybody, and just as I've said, curling up in a ball and just waiting. And lots of times, for people who do choose to walk that road of just being really negative about it, and that's their response, then they probably are going to pass in 2 years, just because there is something about, okay, like almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, okay, they gave me 2 years. I've only got 2 years, so I'm just going to sit here and be miserable and cry and whine and say, pity me, and I'm a victim, and just be mean and nasty. And so you're going to end up probably passing in 2 years. And I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that I realize that sometimes things happen and you can be as positive as you want. We have no idea what the future holds, but
Right.
we all know, in fact, one of the best, my employer has a really good line that he says, and I'm sure I know other people say this too. Nobody gets out of this life alive. We're all going to pass at some point. We don't know when that's going to happen. And so you chose to take this situation and respond to it in the way you did, no matter whether that meant you were going to pass away in 1 day, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. You were going to choose to respond positively, and you were going to continue to live your life to the best of your ability, and to be kind and gracious and do whatever you could to give yourself as much time in this world that you could have, and for it to be the best of you. And I see that in you so clearly, and that is what I'm that's why I think I'm so inspired by you, because you're walking that path and you're choosing your response. Yeah.
That's so nice of you. That's so nice of you. I mean, you guys are too. You look at how you guys are responding to everything. It's pretty amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, just enjoying it. A minute you can. I think about when we went skydiving this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that was easy. I'm a natural faller, so that was not a big deal.
Hey,
Yes, Tim.
hey, Ruth, this is Tammy. I apologize. I am not on camera, but I wanted to catch you before you end it. And I'm literally walking out of the grocery store with a basket. I've been listening the whole time in the grocery store.
Yes.
But I'm multitasking here. But I wanted to say, Ruth, I am so thankful that you sent me the IM about being on the call today, because I've been running errands and I've got an appointment at 5:30. But this call has been such a blessing, even though I've not been able to be on camera. It's been such a blessing to hear your story and to just associate so much with you. My best friends growing up are twins, and ever since I knew them in elementary school, their mother had cancer, and so they have always been like sisters to me. And their mother was the first woman that I ever knew that had breast cancer and had experience watching someone go through all of that, and it was it bonded me and her girls to watch their strength, to be there, to be a part of that process. And it was just such a time. And it's been over 30 years now since she did pass. And we just turned 50. We're 2 days apart in our birthday. So we just all turned 50. And we've all had this sisterhood. And I remind them all the time of the things that they're like with their mom, and how as they've grown, so much of her characteristic has come out in them. And I just want to say to you that your unbelievable strength and your desire to do all that you're doing is truly a testament of your testimony and what you're here for this earth for. And the purpose of why you're here is just something that, as hard as some days may be to get up and go through, it's just something that you have to just be so proud of yourself that even on your worst days, you probably still do your best to put that smile on and to get through it. And you don't complain, and you don't probably question, why me? And it just seems like that you've just have taken your life and made what most of us wish we could do when things get negative and we feel the self-pity. It's like you've allowed yourself not to feel the self-pity. And it's just something that I wish myself and other people could realize, that there's so many things in life to be blessed for. And when we have little minor things that happen, we don't need to make them big things, because they're really not the big things.
That's so nice of you. Thank you. That means so much.
And I wanted to say too, I just recently released my first book. It's called Love on Pause, PAWS. I released it December 8th, and it's about bonding with my dog and going through the grief process of losing your pet and the struggles of what that felt like. But, because of, you bond with your pets, and when we lose them, it's a hard situation to lose them. But I wanted to say, I self-published my book. I did get a publisher here in Richmond, Virginia. I got a publisher to do it. And then I went and I had a publisher do it for me. And he the lady, my editor, she was really great, but there was parts of my book that was very harsh. It was parts in it to where I was talking about a moment when I was angry with God, and I had some really harsh things in it. And in the moments of when my dog passed away, and they wanted me to calm some stuff down in my book, because they didn't want to turn anybody away that was reading it. And so I ended up, some of the stuff I agreed with and I toned it down, but then some things that were important to me, I'm like, no, this is my story, and I can't tell my story if I'm being told not to do certain things or say certain things, and that wasn't okay with me. And so they agreed, and so they allowed me to do it the way I wanted to do it. But they did, have some really great advice on some things that I did take. But I was just really proud of you when I heard you saying how with your first book that you wrote it your way and that you didn't want to change it because it wouldn't have been your story. And I agree with everything Ruth said, that if somebody else would have published it and cleaned it up, then the story may not have been as effective, because then people aren't getting to feel that raw, real feelings of what you were experiencing. So that was really good that you stuck by your true self and what you really wanted to make that book be what you wanted it to be.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Tammy, for coming on. I'm glad you were able to come on. I was hoping you'd be able to.
I just, like I said, this was I'm felt rude being running errands and in the grocery store listening, because I couldn't be on camera and everything. But I didn't even, once I started hearing you, I was like what Ruth was saying, I didn't even want to cut it off or nothing. I'm like, I just have to listen to everything that's being said. It was just so endearing, and I just really truly wish you all the best and continue to just each day get up and keep your smile and keep your spirit, because it seems like you have an amazing personality that I'm sure everyone around you feels your love.
Oh, thank you so much, and good luck with your book. It sounds amazing. I'll have to check it out.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll have to Ruth will have to put a link. She said she follows you, so I need to follow you for my encouragement daily.
Okay.
I'll make sure. I will be sure to send you that. Yeah, for sure. And I'll put that in the show notes when I post this too. But yeah, wow. Yeah. Well, this is Lisa, this is what I love about my podcast is as I said, it seems like I always think, okay, is there going to be somebody today? Am I going to have a virtual audience? Is it going to work out? And God has always provided there to be at least one person, and I've been so grateful. It's like the times where I'll start thinking, okay, there's not going to be anybody there, what am I going to do? And that's what I love, is they add so much to it, because it's not just me, but they have followed me for a lot of the people who come on have followed me for a long time, and they're super positive people too, and I love that they see in you what I've seen, and they're willing to and I appreciate that. And I really hope that's an encouragement to you, because that's really what I want this to be.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm gonna be following your podcast now too. That's so fun that you have people pop on like that. You do a great job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was an experiment in the beginning, and that I just loved it so much. And so yeah, there's like I can't believe I've published as many episodes as I have. So you'll be able to tell it's a little bit it is I'm much more relaxed now. When I go back and watch the early ones, it's like you're talking about, you go back and read your early your early book. Well, I go back and watch my early podcast from last year. I'm like, ooh, I was really like, I was so rigid and not, and I wanted to tell myself to like, just relax and enjoy it, and not be so, and if you want, but yeah, definitely, I'd love for you to check them out. So Elisa, I just want to thank you as we wrap up here, as we get ready to wrap up here. I just want before I do wrap up, now I realize you're still going through this whole health journey. And of course you had this book come out last year. Are you looking at doing, I know you're writing your blog and you're doing writings here and there. Are you looking at possibly writing more books or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've written another book. It's just a fiction about a girl who's on hospice and then starts having these weird experiences where she's basically seeing what the afterlife is like. So I've been working on that one. And then I actually have enough written for a sequel to 2 more years, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, but it's been wild because I've just been getting so sick that I try to sit down and get everything together, but it's been getting a little bit harder than it was. So we'll see what happens if I can just get it together. I have my Pepsi, and that is like
Right.
as long as I have Pepsi and coffee, I should be good to go.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
There you go. So that's Elisa's secret to outlasting cancer is Pepsi and coffee. There you go. Right?
I think it's coffee for sure. If I get better, it's gonna be because I've been drinking like a gallon of coffee every day. So
Well, you know what? If that's what's working for you, I say go for it. I mean, my goodness, you must, and you know what? It's not just that you must be doing something right and that's why you're still here, but I believe God has a purpose for you still. I mean, I see that you are here for a reason. God is not done with you yet. You have more lives to touch, and I'm just grateful because I was almost hesitant to reach out to you because I thought, man, she's going through all this cancer treatments. And so, I'm watching the story, and I wanted to reach out last year. And I thought, do I do it? What do I do? And then I'm just like, and then actually what sparked the reason I reached out to you is I thought, oh, her Facebook page got hacked. I got to reach out to her and bring her on, because then we can maybe get some more interest for her book, and people know about her. It's like the perfect time to bring her on. That's why I finally reached out, and I'm so glad, I'm so honored that you were willing to come on, and it's just been such a joy getting to know you. And I'm really excited to get to share this. I'm going to make it a point that I share this very soon so that we can get the word out about you, because I think there are a lot of people out there that need to hear the story that you're telling, the inspiration that you're giving, and I just by you being who you are inspiring so many people.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, and thank you for giving me something so big to look forward to. I've been really excited to visit with you, so thank you for having me on here.
Well, my pleasure, for sure. And I will let you know when this gets posted. And so I just want to wish you all the best. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, feel free to reach out. Let me know. You're kind of stuck with me now. It's like I'm gonna be kind of
Hey, same for you.
that's good.
Same.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you. And you have a great rest of your week.
All right, you too. Bye, Ruth.
All right. Bye, Lisa.
I really don't know how to wrap this episode up. If there is a woman who has every right to complain and to be upset with the quote-unquote hand that she's been given in this life, it'd be Elisa. Why not? But you know what? That's not her. In fact, just recently I read about how she won't let herself make but one negative comment per day. She only allows herself. I mean, how is that even possible? And every time I see a post from her, it just stops me in my tracks. So I hope that everyone here listening will go follow her. I'll leave all of her social media links in the description. Buy her books, plural. And let's just pray for her. If you are a praying person, let's pray, please. Let's follow her story and pray, because I believe that she is the kind of woman that we need in this world today. So, as we wrap things up here, be sure that you are following my podcast. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up, subscribe, that'd be awesome. And please join my Facebook group. I would love to have you guys jump in anytime that I'm having a podcast recording. You could be in my virtual audience, so join that group. Please let me know any of your thoughts. I'm open to suggestions. This is not all about me. It is about my guests and it's about you. And I'm doing this for one reason. I love it, yes, okay. But I'm doing it for more than one reason. But I'm doing it as something that I feel so passionate about, highlighting these people and giving you guys the opportunity to come and ask some questions and to learn who they really are. I want to wish you the most amazing day ever. God bless. See you on a future episode of Meet It From the Heart.